Few people know Syracuse football better than Syracuse.com columnist Brent Axe, and he joins us now. Brent, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
And of course, the story of Syracuse's first win was Sean Tucker, 112 yards and 2 touchdowns, had the same amount as rush attempts as DeVito did passes. With that being said, if SU is to be successful moving forward, how much of this offense needs to be predicated on the play of Tucker?
One thing that I was impressed with Tucker is he just knows where he's going with the ball when he gets the ball. I mean, that touchdown run was impressive by getting out of the tackle, but he had the awareness to know that his knee had not touched the ground. So this is a kid who, even at a freshman level, kind of has really good field awareness, and he just attacks when he gets out there. So I think I don't want to put too much pressure on one kid, but it's certainly on the running game to balance things out. Another thing I was really encouraged by was how Tommy DeVito got rid of the ball quicker, and hallelujah, they threw the ball to the tight ends, right? So I think that third game, what Tucker allowed the offense to do was finally be as versatile as it wanted to be. Because what I think you saw in the first two games, Pittsburgh and North Carolina recognized this team can't run the football. So they went all in on Tommy DeVito, putting pressure on him, which just took the running backs and the wide receivers out of it, man. I mean, I think you saw some of those wide receivers in those first two games just kind of out there like, hey, even if we're open, there's nothing they could do about it. So, as I mentioned, you don't want to put too much pressure on Tucker, but, having a running game is so key these days.
Brent, thank you for taking the time. Sticking with the offense, Taj Harris has obviously been the #1 guy for DeVito. Who else needs to step up for SU?
I feel like I should be Aaron Hackett and Luke Benson's press agent at this point because they are so impressive, particularly Hackett in the red zone. Benson, as football coaches love to say, is one of those yak guys. You get him the football, he gets yards after the catch. But Taj Harris is stepping into that #1 receiver level. And I think we saw that with the touchdown pass he got, I should say, from Tommy DeVito. We haven't heard a lot from Anthony Quealy. Ed Hendricks just continues to be kind of an enigma at this point. We've heard so much about him in practice and what he can do. We just haven't seen it in a game situation. But Nykeem Johnson, to me, is just a star in waiting. And we've seen kind of a roller coaster ride in his career. We've seen some real peaks and valleys here. Syracuse needs that second option. They need that second guy because DeVito, one flaw he still has and has to correct is he tends to lock in on his first receiver. Last year was Tristan Jackson. This year it's Taj Harris. So if Nykeem Johnson can kind of provide that second option for DeVito, give him some other choices here, that would really be a big help. But I am a huge advocate of throwing to the tight ends, particularly, with the limited time that Tommy DeVito usually has to throw the ball, right? Hopefully we saw some encouraging signs against Georgia Tech that will ease that for him going forward. But the obvious answer to me is nice short routes to the tight end, keep the chains moving.
Brent, the Orange were 8-point favorites heading into the Georgia Tech game. They won by 17. What is Syracuse's ceiling within this ACC conference?
I feel like if Syracuse can get to 7 or 8 wins, we'd all be thrilled with that, right? Especially after how the first two games went. I still think this team has its limits. I'm really impressed with how many young players have stepped up. Look at Jahad Carter in that play, the flip to Trill Williams and Steve Linton and Stephon Thompson and just a number of young players, Sean Tucker, who we mentioned, of course, that are contributing right away. But I think the more film that opponents get of this 3-3-5 defense, the more tendencies they pick up on, there's going to be days where the offense is going to have to carry the load. I am really impressed with this defense, but you kind of have to budget in a game or two where they can't carry the load, where they're not going to get 4 or 5 turnovers, right? Where it's going to be just kind of a mano-a-mano game. So I think this team's still as impressive as they've been on, particularly the defensive side of the ball with the offense waking up a little bit against Georgia Tech. There's still a lot of things that have to grow on this team. So reasonably, I think 7 wins is the absolute ceiling that they can aim for. It's 2020 though. Who knows going forward what this team can do. That Georgia Tech game, I think, gave them a lot of confidence and a lot of hope that they needed going forward.
Brent Axe of Syracuse.com, thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure.